Hello, Command229 here with another Topic of the Week video. This week's topic will be on Hans, and funnily enough, I actually have two topics on this. Okay, well, I had two topics submitted to me about Hans, and they were different, so I decided to just do them both in the same video. There's really no point in doing two videos on Hans when I'll be covering essentially the same thing. I'll be doing that for for some videos. If I get multiple topics, submissions that aren't too similar, but they're still about the same thing, I'll just cover them all together in one video, just that I don't have to spread this out and do multiple videos saying the exact same thing on one topic. Now, the first one I got was from Tumblr user jaune-valjeen. Now, prisoner 24601, your time is up and your parole's begun. Oh, if you couldn't tell, she's a fan of Les Mis, and I honestly couldn't pass up making that joke. Okay, her topic was opinion on Hans's character development in Frozen. Interesting topic. The other one was from Tumblr user mephhius. Hans from Frozen. What made his character work for you? Both good topics, and I want to describe why I think both of them are right and wrong. Well, kind of wrong, but let me start with the first one. Hans's character development. Or should I say lack of character development? You see, this is probably one of the most disappointing things about Frozen to me, is that Hans had no development at all. Some of my people say, well, what about the twist where he's bad? That's not development. It's a fantastic twist, mind you, and I love that, and I'll talk about that in the second topic. But he had no development. And even on repeat watchings of the movie, it becomes clear that this wasn't something that was planned from the very beginning. That was all part of some big plot twist that they had set up. Honestly, Hans has almost no foreshadowing at all for his betrayal and near the end of the movie. There may be two scenes that might, with I believe is he talking to the Duke of Weselton, I believe so, and he acted kind of possessive of, being in charge. Maybe. And then there was a scene which I think is more likely as foreshadowing, where they're in Elsa's castle and the one of the goons is about to shoot Elsa with the crossbow, and he grabs it, points it, pushes it up, and then ends up hitting the chandelier. When you see a quick glance of him looking up at the chandelier and then running over. Maybe. The problem is that these are not good enough. This isn't good enough for foreshadowing. You see, not seeing it the first time through is fine, but when you're rewatching it, you should be able to go, oh, Hans, you sneaky bastard. Or, oh, Hans. Or then go, oh, you magnificent bastard, I read your book. But you can't, because moments that I thought were foreshadowing, that if I was thinking about them after I watched it the first time, and then I rewatched it, and I'm like, no, like, after he gets dunked in the water, and he's, with the boat, and he pushes the boat up, after he first meets Anna, I thought he was going to have some sneaky smile, like, yeah. Which would have been serviceable as foreshadowing, but he just goes, which, yes, you could say, oh, he's hiding his intentions, but no, it doesn't work. It's definitely something that you realize that they did very late in development of the story, and maybe even animation. They might have changed that mid-animation. Who knows? I don't really know the exact story of how this was written, but it's obvious that this was not planned from the beginning. Even though it's a great twist, it was not. So Hans could have had better development. And hopefully in Frozen 2, since we know Hans is coming back, and he's supposedly getting redeemed, hopefully we'll get good character development from that. I'm not even just hoping for Elsa, even though it might happen. There's a good chance we'll get some character development. Another problem with Hans, though, is the fact that we know almost nothing about him. We know what he said about his brothers was true. It was confirmed by Jennifer Lee, that he did have really crappy, abusive brothers. And that's it. That's it. And that's really disappointing. I mean, Hans being the bad guy of the movie could have been probably one of the best plot twists I've seen in years. With a lack of explanation for his character, his motivations, and a lack of backstory and a lack of foreshadowing really hurts his character. I think Hans is the weakest. He's the most interesting, but he's also the weakest character. I mean, Elsa and Anna, we know about them. We see their childhood and stuff. We see why they drifted apart. We see that. Kristoff, we don't need a lot. He's not like super like. It's not. It's not super integral for someone like Kristoff to get a detailed backstory. We see him as a kid. We see him grown up. He says a little bit about the in between, and that's it. We don't really need it. Kristoff, if they spent too much time focusing on Kristoff's backstory, it would have dragged the film. However, if we'd spent a little more time on Hans, not even a bunch of time, we just need some lines about his backstory and his motivations. Because we know he wants to take the throne because he was not going to get it himself. But that's it. I mean, it's a problem. It's a problem with the writing, and I don't want people like I don't like Frozen. I love Frozen. It's not perfect, but I really enjoyed the movie. I really enjoyed the characters. But it does have faults in its writing. Now, on to the second topic. What made his character work? Now, this is what I was saying I was going to talk about. Hans, when you first see him, is the quintessential Disney prince. He is the most cliche, on-point Disney prince you can imagine. The good-looking, good fighter. He sings, he's cheerful, he's kind, he's helpful, he's self-sacrificial. I mean, everything you could possibly imagine. Every single bullet point for the perfect Disney prince, he fills out. But then you find out he is the bad guy. That was all a lie, or at least most of it was a lie. He's actually trying to usurp the Arendelle throne. Like, to me, I mean, I think a lot of us, when we first watched Frozen in theaters, sat there when he was like, "Oh, Anna, if only there was someone out there who loved you." We were just like, "What?" And then I'm like, "Oh wait, what do you mean? Is he going to say? Oh wait, no, he's just saying he doesn't really love her." He's like, "I'm going to take the throne." And I'm like, "No, Hans." That I think is a really good reaction to get. To pull the wool over people's eyes like that is a good accomplishment. The problem is that, like I said before, going back, there's nothing much to back up such an insane betrayal like that. What made his character work was the fact that the betrayal exists. The fact that this was all, like, everything he was doing was some big manipulation to trick them. And he had to constantly change his plans. Oh, he's a brilliant mastermind. But the way it was structured within the movie didn't really give that a lot of build-up. I can buy him being that. With a few scenes that really established that he had some ulterior motive. That would have really fixed, to me, the biggest problem in the movie was that Hans was kind of shallow with his writing. He's not a shallow character. There is a lot to his character. But there's also a lot of unknowns, which is the problem. With someone like Hans, with Elsa, we don't need to go into deep character motivations. With Anna, we don't need to go into deep character motivations. Their motivations are clear-cut, and they're simple, and it's straightforward. Hans, it's not, and a character like this needs development. A character like this needs focus. A character like this needs explanation. You see, there's still a lot of people who are so confused about Hans' motivation. The fact that we know he wants to take the throne because he's 13th in line for his own throne, and he'll never get it, ever, unless something horribly catastrophic happens. He'll never get it. So he wants it, but you just kind of get this feeling there's something more going on, but they never tell you, and it's like the movie doesn't even care to give a deeper explanation. I kind of felt like when they were writing this part, they were just like, okay, let's do this. We got a plot twist. Let's push it out. And really, that's what kind of messes with Hans. I still think this is a great character, and Frozen 2 has a lot of potential to really to fix the issues that Hans had and the movie in general had with how it treated, the development for Hans and all that stuff. And hopefully it has a few less pointless songs. But yeah, Hans to me is one of my favorite character in Frozen. I'm writing a fanfic for Helsa and focus heavily on Hans and his family and explaining his motivations. Obviously, since that's one thing I felt was really missing. So, yeah. I think I pretty much got over the topic. So yeah, Hans didn't have character development. He could have had a lot more. He didn't even need specific development since he was already the bad guy. All we needed was foreshadowing and a little bit of a deeper explanation of his character and his motivations. Because his motivations just kind of it feels like there's more to him. That's the problem. He's such an enigma. We know so little about his character and his background that we feel like we're getting gypped on his character. I really feel like we need to know more. But they're holding it back either because they don't have anything or because they're just like, oh wait, we forgot to tell you. Sorry. His character could have worked. His character could have been one of my favorite villains, Disney villains, ever, just from the fact that the deceit was so great. The fact that he fooled almost everyone, not even in the movie, but also the audience. Because usually in movies like this, the bad guy is sitting there in the corner going, soon I will have my revenge, and soon I will have the crown. But yeah, Hans was sneaky and he could have worked. He could have worked so much better. I mean, this movie could have stood out a lot more if Hans was better, if his betrayal was framed better in the narrative. So yeah, I think I pretty much said all I really need to talk about for Hans, at least with these subjects. So yeah. If you want to submit a topic, just make sure that you submit an ask on my blog, coolman229.tumblr.com, and just make sure to put topic in front of the beginning of the ask, and then ask me. You can probably find plenty of asks submitting topics to me. If you want to send it to me on YouTube in the comments below, just type it out. Just ask me something. Just make sure that you follow the guidelines that I have outlisted, and I will link in this. I will link in the description. Or on Tumblr, I will link in the post. So, thank you for watching.